So, okay, the talk is about how to script a plugin because, as I said yesterday, so one of my contribution to the project was really in the introduction of plugins. And to explain a little bit where we are coming from, we need to go back to 2010, early 2011. And Gerrit was just born 1.5 years before. And basically, the reality was Gerrit was already great and powerful, but lots of companies had different needs. Yeah? Some of them, they were using Jenkins, others were using maybe another CI systems, and some of the people, they were using a certain type of authentication and group integration. The others, they used something different again. And when I went to the conference to meet the other contributors, everyone was talking about their fork. So they would say, yeah, I got the 2.1 fork 1753. And I thought, yeah, my fork is A, B, C, D. And then, oh, my fork, yeah, customize this one, that one, and so on. And I say, yeah, that is great because that's the power of open source. You can fork as much as you want. And it was the beginning of the days of GitHub as well. So people were excited about the fork. Yeah, let's fork it. But then keeping a fork updated, oh my gosh, it's a mess. It's a mess. And it's not easy to move on. And there are companies here as well, they are still stuck on a fork just because it's hard. Yeah. And I say, okay, how can the project evolve if we continue on the fork? So, and the way to convince the community was very simple. I invited Kosuke. Kosuke is the father of Jenkins. And Jenkins is a tool that without plugins is useless. And why Jenkins is so popular if it's a useless tool? Because the plugins makes the thing work. And so at that point, that the first Hello World plugin was born. It was the 7th of May, 2012. And that was the author of the Hello World plugin. That's good. And the plugin manager. But then after 2 years, we had only 50 plugins. I said, maybe that's not good. So it could be good if 50 plugins are really high quality. But if you look at the Jenkins numbers, at that time they had 600 plugins. I say, we are missing a kind of 10 times ratio. Even the community is smaller, but still writing a plugin for Gerrit was too hard. And you needed to know a lot of things. You needed to know a specific build system because Gerrit doesn't use Maven. They need to learn Bazel. They need to install it. They need to know exactly how the dependency works. They need to know a lot of things that maybe you're willing to contribute is going below 0 and so on. We'll still have plugins because people that are really committed to contribute, they will do. But you're limiting the, let's say, the ability to contribute a lot. The success of a project, you need to get people together. So you need to embrace different skills. And maybe the Gerrit admin is not a Java developer. Maybe he's a Groovy guy because Groovy is used a lot in systems that are running in the current DevOps. If you think about, let's say, modern provisioning system, they are all based in Groovy at the end of the day. And other people are Python guys. So we say, if you just do something in Python, I can share my skills with the type of knowledge that I can give you, but still contribute to the benefit of Gerrit integration. So ask the community, what do you think about it? And the people say, oh my gosh, that's great. But can you do Scala, please? Because I'm a Scala guy. And other, can you do Groovy? Because I'm a Groovy guy. Can I do Python? Because I like that. I say, OK, just one language is not going to satisfy all the needs. So just to give you an example on how easy it would be then to write a plugin in Gerrit for doing a Hello World. The previous year, I was just doing a Hello World in Java. And for me to code a plugin for the audience in Java and compile it and have it running on Gerrit, it took 10 minutes. That was good. But then you say, you're doing a Hello World 10 minutes for doing everything? So with the starting with version, I think this one was 2.7, so definitely in the current version is there. Writing a plugin that says Hello World in Groovy will be just no more difficult than just writing a Groovy file into the plugins directory. And you can do when Gerrit is running. You don't have to load it manually. You don't have to unload it manually. You don't have to restart Gerrit. Nothing at all is there. And the way that Gerrit recognizes it is a plugin, first of all, because it has an extension that is .groovy. So, and I will show you now what are the how do you tell Gerrit that Groovy plugin exists. And there is a convention on the name of the file that tells what is the plugin name and the version. And it's very simple. The plugin name is the one that is on the left side of the hyphen. The version is the one that is on the right side of the hyphen. And for Gerrit, the plugin is called hello10.groovy. Is the plugin name called hello, and the version is 1.0. As easy as that. Why gotcha? The Groovy language is a Groovy that uses reflection. Reflection is a capability in Java that allows to discover any method, right? And because of that, it will be slower than a native plugin. So the people may say, hold on, yeah, look, it's very quick to write, but the runtime is going to cost CPU cycles for my service. So maybe it's better if I do a proper plugin. And now I'm just writing a file into the plugins directory in my development machine and works out of the box. And the beauty is that if you edit the file, we'll unload the old plugin, we'll load the new plugin. So it's not just the initial writing of the plugin, but even the development cycle when you're developing the plugin becomes so much faster because you just go, you edit the file, and your local Gerrit that you got there just works. That Gerrit doesn't exist just as a Word file, but exists as well as a Docker image. So for instance, in this case, I'm running this Docker image like this. So we have now an organization on Docker Hub that is called Gerrit Code Review, and the image is called Gerrit. And then you put on the right side the version you want. So in this case, I want 2.14.4. Then I'm exposing, for instance, the port 800 to, sorry, 8080 to 810, and this one, let's do it like this. Yeah. How many of you guys know about Docker and are familiar with Docker commands? Raise your hand. Okay. For the others, they are not familiar. So Docker is basically a system that allows you to run containers. And when I say containers, it doesn't mean the operating system. It means just a kind of packaged application that contains everything. And the only thing you require on your system, in this case on my laptop, is the Docker application, the Docker runtime, right? Now exists for Mac natively, for Windows, existed for Linux from the very beginning. So basically, for any operating system you have on your laptop, you can use it. And that is great for the people that want to do some contribution to Gerrit, but they are not familiar with Gerrit development because you don't have to install Gerrit in all the development environment and understand everything about that. You just go and run your Docker image. So when I do this, it starts straight away, as it was already installed. The second value of the Docker image is that it's not just Gerrit. It's Gerrit plus a configuration that works out of the box, plus an initial welcome screen, plus the plugin manager. So it means contains already a set of components that if you're not familiar with Gerrit, will help you a lot in understanding what is Gerrit and how to use it. So it's basically a package that contains everything you need to have to get started quickly. And as you can see, it starts, it tells you what is the version, and it's there, and it works. And this is a new screen that has been introduced in the Docker image. First of all, it tells you welcome. Because lots of people that are starting with Gerrit, they were really confused about the first screen of Gerrit. That is a blank screen with nothing. And I remember a few years ago that people were saying, Gerrit is great, but if I don't know anything about Gerrit and I start Gerrit and I get in a blank screen, I quite, let's say, without ideas of what should I do, right? And the Docker image says welcome. That is a good thing to say to people that you didn't know about. And it gives you, first of all, the ability to install plugins because, again, since we introduced the plugins, Gerrit without plugins is missing a lot of pieces because we started to package Gerrit itself with a lot of plugins. So you can review and install more plugins. Or if you don't know anything about Gerrit, we'll give you a deep link to Sean Pierce's video at EclipseCon. He did a very nice introduction about Gerrit. We'll give you the link to the repo mailing list, the one that was mentioned yesterday from the PolyGerrit UX guys. That is what you want to go and get involved with people. And you just want to know what's going on, we'll give you a link to Twitter to follow Gerrit. So in this case, I will show you from the plugins, the one that you need. So if you click Install Plugins, you will go to the screen that is called Plugin Manager. And for the people that are familiar with Jenkins, how many of you guys use Jenkins or know about Jenkins? Yeah, most of the audience. It is exactly the same functionality you've got in Jenkins as well. So if you go to Groovy, there we go. You have the Groovy provider. So, and as you put names here, for instance, want to know GitHub, there we go. You've got the two integrations we got with GitHub. For instance, how many of you use Jira? Okay, let's have a look if there is something for Jira. Oh, look at that. There is something for Jira as well. And that's a fantastic discovery mechanism for the people that are not familiar with Gerrit to understand what's going on. And what it's doing is actually downloading the plugin from the internet to understand exactly what is the version that is compatible with your version of Gerrit, and then running locally out of the box. Now it's trying to install and did it, okay? And then when you're done, you click on the right, top right, go to Gerrit. There we go. So basically now we started from nothing to a Gerrit setup that contains already the plugins. They are mostly useful for me, plus the Groovy provider. So first of all, there is not just Groovy, but I did the Scala provider as well. So it means if you want really to run super fast, so you don't want to use reflection, but you want to use raw speed for certain things, then you just do in Scala. Scala is compiled natively into the same JVM code in Java. It's not slower. It's actually much faster than Java in terms of certain operations, and doesn't use reflection at all. So if you do the same example, you can have exactly the same plugin, but written in Scala. When I showed this one to the people got so excited and started writing a lot of scripting plugins. And this is just an example of what you can do. So you can define new SSH commands. So sometimes administrators, they need to have some kind of scripts for administrating some Gerrit task. But if you do outside of Gerrit, it's very hard. If you do inside of Gerrit, it can be much faster and easier because Gerrit gives you already a lot of objects of information that is in the change, in the repo, but already processed as Java beans. So it's much easier to go and use them for advanced SSH commands. Define new REST API. Some of the people, they say, listen, my organization want to have a custom create project command. Can I get a new API that does it? Yes. You can do it. You don't have to be a Java developer contributor to Gerrit. You need to know some basics about the Gerrit API, but then you can just do a new REST API for doing what you want. The third one is very, very exciting because before the plugins in Gerrit, the only possibility you had for running and managing the events, there was the hooks or the stream events. The hooks, they have one problem. They are really similar to Git hooks, the Gerrit hooks, but they get executed for every single operation that happens everywhere. So it can be a really big burden for your server, and they spawn a different process. In that process, they need to reprocess your entire Git objects from scratch. So they're really slow from that point of view. If you define the events in this way, 10 times or 100 times faster.